Well, bam. We are here. Hi, everybody. We're here with Just Gaming Tingz. It is an all LGBTQIA plus perspective on games, gaming news, and any kind of assorted category. I am Lotus Loves Lotus. Just Lotus is fine. To wait, if this is my left,
We're on
on
the
the
starting
left.
screen.
We're on the starting shortly. Still.
Hey, y'all. Well, that's embarrassing. Hi, I'm Lotus Loves Lotus, and apparently OBS Studio doesn't save your hotkeys.
Love that.
Do I need to say this stuff again? No, this is mostly audio only. See, if y'all hadn't said anything, the people on Spotify wouldn't have known. But you know what? It's fine. I'm Lotus. To the left of the screen is Dex. Hi, Dex. How you doing?
Hi, hello.
And then hanging out, holding down the bottom of the pyramid is Ruin Crow. Welcome back, Ruin.
Hi, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be back.
Yay. Yeah, we have, I guess, a news-packed week. It was funny. I was also hosting last week, and I was like, we ain't got nothing to talk about. And the universe said, oh, bitch, that's cute.
Now we have too much.
To the point where we had to take out a couple of things because we were like, it's too much. It's too much.
Right.
I mean, first off, we have a big bummer, I guess, is the technical term for what it is. Continuing allegations, continuing story of Activision Blizzard and the CEO, Bobby Kotick, being a giant piece of shit. Even more so than we knew of before. I mean, I think all of us could say that we probably knew that he knew about everything that was going on, right? Just in the sense that he's the CEO of the company. But now we have, allegedly, proof through emails, phone calls, speaking about his supervisor, speaking about his secretary, and it's like, no, we have repeatedly told him about people being assaulted, the horrible culture of like taking employees to strip clubs and encouraging all of the female employees to get drunk, threatening to kill people, threatening to destroy people's careers, specifically Bobby Kotick doing these things. I what do you say about such a thing? I don't know.
Wow. I just think it's like, I don't know how long he's been like a CEO, and I'm sure the company has always been like this, but it just like blows my mind just to like still look at the article and be like seeing 2006 when
Yes.
situations happened, 2007, 2008, because then you're like, yeah, we found out all this stuff was going on, but the fact that this has been going on for like 15 years is like especially disturbing because like we didn't know any of this stuff was really going on in the public until like this past year. So it's very like disheartening to see like more and more things come up about how this has been going on for so long.
I feel like with the timeline of it all, you know, it going back to so long ago when you had it makes me a little worried about a little bit because like when you had companies like G4 and I feel like this kind of was like setting the you know, the bottom of it all for this to grow.
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense. Does that make the foundation?
You were looking for
like
the word foundation, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking for the word foundation here. So like because I feel like you know these gaming companies started becoming like big conglomerates over those were like pretty formative years when gaming was starting to explode, like when I was in high school and middle school and stuff. You know, that's when these things started to form. You know, these big you know, they're growing and they're growing and they're growing, and for it to have this type of foundation with such deep cracks where you know these sexual assault allegations have been in harassment they've been going on for this long and nothing has been done about it. Like, of course, maybe that's why we don't see a lot more women in gaming, because they're like everyone else is like, well, they're not going to do anything about it. Like, isn't I think that's really unfortunate that that's the foundation that a lot of these companies are sitting on. It's really gross.
Yeah, I mean,
especially since it says like the spokeswoman for it, like the human resources began reporting that they like re- reporting directly to the corporate office in 2019, meaning that like that wasn't happening before.
Yeah, they were so proud. They were like, they're reporting straight to us now.
Now, like 2019, like 13 years after, like as the earliest account that we have is like going on, and they're like, it occasionally allowed some employees to conduct themselves in truly regrettable ways, and I'm like, okay, but like, are y'all gonna do something about that? Because they still happened.
I feel like looking back at that time of like that time when you think of like the media at the time and the things that we've seen, like I feel like that was just of the time. Does that make sense? Like it was of the time when you think of like what was that movie? Grandma's Boy? Like in everything that happened in that movie, like it's just like, oh, these things just a big gaming company, these things just happen. So when
Right.
I read they were like they had like 30 scantily clad women, dancing at a party for the company, I was like, why am I kind of not surprised? Like at this time, like this, it seems very like it was a product of its own time a little bit, and maybe I forgot when that movie came out, but maybe that movie kind of glamorized it all, and that's what they're like. Well, this is what we do. We make all of this big money and all of these big things. Like, of course, we're gonna spend it on 30 strippers and at a party, and we're gonna get DJ to tell women to get more drunk so it's easy for men to get with them. Like it it's I feel like it's one of those things looking back and it's just like, wow, we were really gross back then. We
Yep.
were really, really gross. We let all of this happen. Like it was gross. And I feel like too, coming from being like an HR person, like I feel like HR probably didn't even know like what to do at the time in these companies because they're like kind of like, brand new. Like, what do we do with this stuff? I guess we can keep a file of it, maybe. But then when you have the CEO basically taking all of the heat for it all, and then saving someone who I think he saved the guy who threatened his assistant. Like he saved him and then they just put him in remediation classes. Like what? What?
I believe that was the
Gross.
person who twice sexually assaulted their assistant. Bobby Kotick himself is the one who threatened to kill his assistant, allegedly.
Was it okay? Yeah. And
Yeah.
then what it I don't know. For me, it's just like all of these things, like when is the strikeout, to use a sports term, but when is the strikeout for these people? Because like they also in the article they said that he sexually harassed a flight attendant on his private jet, and like she didn't even complain to him, she complained to someone else, and then he was like, well, you're fired, blah 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 blah. And it's just like I don't understand when the strikeout is for people. Like it just blows my mind. It truly blows my mind.
It
All of these things are
is.
happening and like no one's like, you're out, sis,
Nope.
you're out, sit on, leave the stadium, like you're not even on the team anymore.
Too much
Oh, I'm
power, too
full of
much
sports
money.
references.
Just yeah, we talked about basketball extremely briefly before this, and now we're all on sports mode. But yeah, it's too much money, too much power, too much gleefully normalizing rape culture from the 2000s, and that is like I feel like more broadly speaking in gaming, but also in general. I mean, we're from the United States, so from that perspective, but still, that has been very denormalized. There are like actual people at companies who care about the other employees who may be around and may care about their well-being beyond that. But specifically in gaming with storied companies, they still are on like 2000s frat bro culture. I mean, League of Legends Arcane came out and everybody loves it. That's great. Hey, they just settled like 2 or 3 gender discrimination lawsuits that had been ongoing right when that released. So, just food for thought. There's that from Riot Games, who were founded in what, like 2009, 2010. There's the stuff at Rockstar. There's the stuff at Take Two, I think, is the overarching thing. Basically anybody who got their name in the 2000s in gaming managed to, I feel like, make their way to a AAA state, and they are truly all like that. Like, we really need to stop pretending that this is I do think Activision Blizzard is arguably and hopefully the absolute worst it can get. But we can no longer pretend that. Yes, literally, please. We can no longer pretend.
We don't need anything worse. Please.
Please. We can no longer pretend that is not an industry thing. Because, like you said, if that mindset, if that culture is a product of its time, the gaming industry as a whole is a product of that time also. So, like, they're kind of intrinsically linked at this point. Like, a lot of these companies would need to be completely restructured. And they should. Bobby Kotick, resign, you big bitch. Fuck you. Get out.
Point blank, period.
Thank you for snapping for me. I can't snap. I'm really bad.
You're welcome. I got you.
Do we have any closing thoughts before we go into our next thing?
I think you said it. You put it. You said it.
Fair. I'll be honest and say before we go on to our next one, I don't remember who did this one. Who would like to take it? About the GTA?
Oh, that was me.
Okay,
that was me.
How about you introduce
Surprisingly,
the next one then?
you know. So the next topic that we're talking about, it's basically modders are fighting back. They're fighting back against Take-Two and Rockstar because they're like, girl, this is ridiculous. So Take-Two, they filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against a group of modders who basically came up with RE3 and REVC, which basically all these like developers did is they just made the games better at this point in time. And so they decided to fight back against it because they're like, listen, like Take-Two said, you're hurting us. They are basically suing them for over $300,000 in damages. And the developers were like, sis, how are we hurting you? The games have been out for over 10 years. Take-Two and Rockstar have done nothing to fix these bugs, and that's all we're doing. We're just making these games better to be more compatible with systems like the Switch and the PS Vita, which I didn't know people were still using their PS Vitas to play games, but pop off, you use the technology if you have it. But they used this word, which I really wanted to say. They said interoperability, which is basically just making software compatible across the board for everyone. So like I said, like the Switch and the Vita. And I finally saw the infamous rain effect that is happening in the definitive edition. And honestly, that it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing for them to do something like this. Especially when they're just not doing so hot right now at all. They're really not doing hot. This came out and then they're like, oh, we're going to go after these developers too. And we're going to sue them for $300,000. No, girly, like it's not going to happen. It's not. Sorry.
I hope not.
What are your thoughts, everyone? If it does, here we go.
I would love for Take-Two to lose and set a precedent across the entire United States legal system that emulation is cool as hell and we all really like it, and to stop suing people and to get over it. That is the best case scenario for me, because if you can't set a legal precedent of a big company losing, it's like, what are you gonna do now? Also, I should say the PS Vita is a very popular emulation machine. I found that out earlier last year.
Is it really?
It is. It and the, what is it called? The PS TV are quite big on that. So is the Wii U, I think, actually. Which means that the Wii U finally has games on it. It's great.
Me with the Wii U. Maybe I gotta do something.
Well, even I posted an article earlier this week, but like the Microsoft gaming chief was like, listen, we need to accept emulation and we need to make sure that we're preserving these games for the future. And I think that's I think that is really the best way to put it, like preserving them for the future. I feel like there are a lot of games that people want to experience that they can't experience anymore. And the only way to do it is through emulation. And you know what? I don't understand why they're being such little crybabies about just making. You obviously didn't fix it. There's no way for you to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not fixing it. So why are you? We're going to sue you. They actually forced them to take it down. It got taken down, and then they're like, girl, like, what are you talking about? And it got put back up. So they almost won for a hot second, but now they're coming back thinking, $300,000. Honestly, I feel like that puts a price tag on what they thought the definitive edition is worth to them. That all they're going to make is $300,000 from it. Like,
Right.
and at this point, I would be surprised if they made $100,000 with how the game looks. And I've only seen a few things from it.
And they do have to get those refunds too. So
Yeah. It's like the desperation too of like me seeing that like they're like Rockstar's frantically like, oh, we're gonna patch the game, but we're gonna patch it, continue to fix things. Oh, we're gonna, we're gonna give out free games to compensate or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but like you released this game that like people were like hearing rumors of it literally a couple months ago. So y'all just like frantically just dropped this out of nowhere, not like QA testing it or anything. Like y'all just saw this, like slapped on some like ugly ass textures of faces on walls and shit. And y'all thought this was okay. Like it made zero sense to me how they thought this was gonna be all right. Like, oh yeah, this is like a all right game, all right release. Like 2 seconds after they first announced it. Like I just and then them coming after these modders. Like there's like modders like save a lot of games for all we know. Like honestly, like I think Skyrim's only successful because of the modders. Because people be buying them just to mod it again. And then like they're trying to fight with the fight and defend themselves with like the United States Copyright Act, which is like period. And it's just like I'm just hoping that they win because like I hate when modders just get shit on by the company even though like they're actively making their game better than like the company ever would have.
it's so disrespectful.
It
It
really
is. Yeah, and it blocks maybe more fans from either enjoying an older game of theirs because sometimes people like to go back and play older games to kind of experience the glow up of it all of the games, and then as well they could be blocking or they could be losing fans from doing this because I really, I feel like there has to be older games that people still play because they're able to mod them. I guess Skyrim is one of them. I don't even know when Skyrim came out. I don't know nothing about Skyrim.
2011, 11/11/11 release date. I will never forget it. One of the first things I like pre-ordered.
It's been out for over a decade, and I was kind of like, being one of the people. I was reading some comments, and someone said, Skyrim would not have been as successful without the modders, and the company did a great job embracing them.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's upsetting. It's just like y'all really are hungry for some money because y'all have been flopping. And you really think this $300,000 is going to do something for you? It's going to pay your electric bill, if that.
I mean, that's it at the end of it, right? It's like these companies with like really storied series, they don't actually want to re-release them now. They don't have any plans to re-release them, but they just want to sit on them for the concept of re-releasing them later. I mean, Nintendo, again, just to continuously bring up Nintendo in the emulation and modding scene. Always in the news about being really mean to modders and emulators, no matter what game it is. But I mean, most recently, I think Ocarina of Time is one of the most famously emulated games ever. It is great. It has randomizers. You can do whatever you want. It's cool as hell. And then they are mad. They release their own Ocarina of Time, and it sucks. So, like, it feels so clear that's what they want to do.
Yeah, like it's just like if you're going to put these things out, y'all need to make sure that it's ready to go. Like that's what it comes down to. Y'all been sitting on this for so long, like with the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. And this from what I've seen, I'm just like, what is this? Like, why is the text so small? It's just y'all have all of this. Y'all have all of these things that y'all could do, and you just do them. You do them at the bare minimum.
Yes, Queen, give
Truly the
us
bare minimum.
nothing.
Exactly. Yes,
But
Queen, give us nothing. Give us
absolutely nothing.
minimal.
I also did want to
Give
touch
us
on something you
minimalism.
said, Ruin, which was it's preventing people from getting into things. Like it's preventing new players. My favorite Nintendo channel is Arlo. He's a Muppet Monster guy. I love him. And he has two videos that like you immediately made me thought of. I've been like binging him lately. One is called like lack of legacy content on the Switch hurts Nintendo more than us. The other one is because he's a big Metroid fan. Which Metroid games should you play before you play Metroid Dread? Because that just came out. You want to experience the story of Metroid all the way through? Get fucked, because there's at least 2 games that you cannot play anywhere except for emulation. So it's difficult. It's difficult, especially if you're a new gamer with the pandemic and with the Nintendo Switch getting so many new gamers in the ecosystem at large. You want to know how the story of this goes? You want to see the glow up and the advancements in technology since the beginning of a series? You can't, unless you pirate things. Yo ho. Mm-hmm.
Yo ho, bitch.
Yo
Yo ho.
ho.
Cannons at the ready. Let's go.
Okay, bars.
Yeah, like
All right, I think we've yelled enough about emulation and modding and piracy. I feel like it comes up at least once a week until we get what we want.
right.
Dex, I think you are probably the most relevant to the next story. Would you like to take
I
it?
am. As the local Saints Row ho, I am here to talk about this Saints Row news that we got recently. So basically, they revealed at the Gamescom earlier this year that it would have a set date, release date for February 2022. And Gamescom was like in August or something, like sometime in the summer. And I was like, that's kind of last minute, especially in a pandemic. I was like, that's kind of worrying in a way, because like I wasn't I was more shocked that they were gonna have like that early of a release date in the middle of a pandemic, because like they barely showed any gameplay, and even their like gameplay video like did not actually show gameplay. So I was just like, oh, okay, so like maybe they're just like keeping everything under wraps until like last minute. Well, they recently announced that they're delaying it to August 22nd. And the quote is, in all honesty, we underestimated the impact COVID would have on our schedule.
Take a shot every
However,
time.
however, to the size and scope of our new Saints Row, it's become apparent to create the best game possible, we need to give our team longer to perfect their craft. Now, I love Saints Row. I am the girl that plays it on this podcast. However, I am just like, how did you underestimate the impact of COVID when it's been going on for almost 2 years, and y'all announced the game like a year and a half into the pandemic? Like, surely you could have just like waited
Nope.
to like announce it, or just say like sometime. They could have just said 2022 and would be like, okay, all right, we know it's coming. But like they said, oh, February 2022, like, which would have been like 6 to 8 months after they announced it. And then they just delayed another 6 months. And I'm just like, I love them, but like, why am like, I'm not surprised that it got delayed. Cause I was like, ooh, I feel like this is gonna be delayed. Every time I got a little bit of news, like bare like crumbs of like them talking about anything, but we still haven't seen footage lately of the game, I was like, yeah, this shit getting delayed. But how do y'all feel about this delay?
I mean, when it comes down to games and being pushed back and what we've been experiencing over the past nearly 2 years now with the coronavirus pandemic, I feel like they should. I honestly, they should just be like, it's coming out 2022. We're not going to give you a date. We're not going to give you a month. It's coming out 2023. Like, I feel like a lot of these companies, they should have realized very early on that this is going to halt production. It's going to bring it to a complete stop, and that we should probably look at the timelines of the project. And if the project's not anywhere close to being done, we should probably push it back a year and a half, 2 years, to make sure that they get it out in a timely fashion. They get the QA properly done so we don't have crappy games coming out. Or where they have to, come up with patches right on day one to fix things that should have never made it past QA testing. So that's my personal feeling about it.
Yeah, I think it's more frustrating to have something repeatedly delayed than to get no information about its release. Like, just take a page from like solo devs and indie devs book where you'll go to the Steam like page for their game and it will say release date when it's ready. Just do that shit. I think it's hilarious. And then also, being able to slowly whittle down the release date, I think is exciting to follow as a fan from 2022, quarter 4 2022, November 2022, and I'm like, oh, it's happening, it's really coming out, stuff like that. It's exciting. Or even like one thing that Nintendo likes to do a lot with indie games, and then I think Xbox will sometimes do this too, is they will just randomly announce that games are out in the middle of their presentation. So Xbox presentation, E3, whatever, Nintendo Directs, they will show a trailer for something, a teeny tiny like 15-second trailer once, and then at the next showcase they're like, oh, by the way, it's out, download it today, download it now. And I think that's exciting. Even like reverse delaying a game would be cool in the event that you really overshoot how badly you think it's going to be delayed, how much time you think it's going to take, and then to be able to go on stage and be like, surprise, it's coming out in 2 months instead of a year. That would be cool. I just don't understand. I know that there's fiscal years and deadlines and all this stuff, but after a certain point, it becomes like a really hard sunk cost fallacy of you trying so hard to hit these deadlines, and it's just like, go for the same deadline but a year from now. You just take the L for a future W, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's better creative marketing as well, like creative marketing to do things like all that you mentioned. And, that's what will get people excited in different ways.
Come on, hype train. Speaking of a hype train, I think we're good to move on from Saints Row, probably, unless anyone wanted anything more to say.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Why'd you say it like that?
The Saints Row thought said, we're good.
We don't need to
Thank you all.
discuss this any longer. No, but as the resident cartoon shill, I have to announce Warner Brothers is going to be entering the platform brawler market. Platform brawler being a game like Super Smash Brothers, with a game called MultiVersus. In case you don't know, Warner Brothers owns Looney Tunes, technically owns DC Comics, or they own some kind of publishing arm of it, something like that. Adventure Time, Steven Universe, a lot of different Cartoon Network programs, I think, but not all of them. And the most surprising person in this roster, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, is gonna be in this fucking game, fist fighting Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry, and I kind of live. I don't know. Y'all know I enjoy Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, but like a lot of the corporate games, the movie tie-ins and things like this, they have approximately $15 to make a video game. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, like they have all the fun characters and all the good music, but they're jank as hell, a little bit ugly. And I mean, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl doesn't even have voice acting. But the Warner Brothers platform brawler, which is going to be called MultiVersus, which is cute, is going to be fully voice acted. And again, as a big cartoon enthusiast, that roster is fucking stacked, and it's really exciting. It is going to be free to play, so I'm going to do what I do with every free to play game, and I'm going to make all my friends download it, and we're going to have a great time, and I'm never going to spend any money on it because I don't give a shit about Warner Brothers. One interesting thing, too, on the platform brawler formula is that apparently they designed this from the ground up for co-op. So it's designed for 2v2, which I think is curious, but there's like a lot of 2v2 moves. You can help your teammates recover. You can throw your teammates. I don't know. It looks really interesting. And to go over a couple people from the voice roster really quickly, Yes, the real life Maisie Williams will be voicing Arya Stark. I don't know. It must be in her contract. I don't know. Matthew Lillard, the live action Shaggy, will be voicing Shaggy.
Period.
Yes, baby. Yes, baby.
Yeah.
Texas Gold, it's over.
And then
Shaggy Mane for life.
Yes, babe. There are also two of the most famous voice actors of all time in cartoons and in games. Tara Strong, who voices Bubbles on the Powerpuff Girls, Twilight Sparkle, and My Little Pony. She voices a couple characters in The Fairly Odd Parents. She voices a billion people, including Raven from Teen Titans, will be voicing Harley Quinn. And then John DiMaggio will be reprising his role as Jake from Adventure Time, as will Jeremy Shada, who plays Finn, and who also is going to be playing Ginger Brave in Cookie Run Kingdom once the English... Oh wait, no, that already came out in the English version. So yeah, it's kind of weird to see the, like, corporate tie-in game actually kind of seemingly pull out all the stops, like, and just give them a big budget to make a big game. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I shouldn't get my hopes up, but I'm like, this could be something.
This is Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Warner. I mean, they have to prepare for the flop of the Harry Potter game. That's fine. That's what they're doing here. They were like, "Oh God, this Harry Potter game ain't gonna do so well. We got to put something else out."
No Harry Potter characters confirmed, so you might be onto something. I mean, technically they're not games, but nothing is. It's multiverse, so. Interesting.
Right.
Oh, almost forgot. Yes, Estelle is voicing Garnet from Steven Universe also. Very important one to throw out there.
Miss Estelle.
But yeah, I don't know. How do y'all feel? I think Dex will be playing now. I think Dex has been roped in as my co-op partner.
Yes. I think I'd be playing because, you know, my biggest weakness is Batman. So in any animated form, Batman is always hot as hell. So Batman was available on Tuesdays. Superman maybe is available on Wednesdays in this style. Like he's good. I'm shook about Shaggy, and it's just like the concept of like Shaggy, Tom and Jerry, and like Steven Universe fighting, just like sends me into a spiral. Like I just love like, because like I'm just so used to Smash. So when I'm used to like, so when we run into these like games that have like show characters fighting each other, it just feels like more like absurd and like wild, and I love it. So I'm really excited to see how this is gonna be, because I just love when I just see like all these styles like clashing on the screen. So I think it's gonna be fun.
I think back to the most popular cartoon from the Warner Brothers, which was the Animaniacs, and just like how like absurd that TV show was, how that cartoon was, and you know how they had real life people. They sometimes had, you know, some other cartoon crossovers in there. So I think this is like a very similar to that. And if they kind of can keep with that, you know, absurdity, I think it would be a really good game. I mean, if it's free, I don't see why I wouldn't download it and play it, you know, every once in a while. So I mean, there are some really beloved characters in there, so
yeah,
why wouldn't I?
Whoever's at the Warner Brother Games division seems to know what the people want. The thing I am worried about, especially with it being a free-to-play game, is obviously monetization, like being totally just nutty. Wouldn't be happy about that. It probably will be there in some regard, but, you know, fingies crossed. Oh no, I lost my train of thought. Oh no, right. They know what the people want. Warner Brothers does have a gacha game where there is referenced the meme Big Chungus, and there is a Big Chungus skin for Bugs Bunny, and he's like a legendary character or something. Their Twitter account is already like repeatedly referencing the Shaggy Ultra Instinct memes. I mean, I don't know. So someone there is plugged in, and that gives me at least a little bit of faith, I think.
Right.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yay!
On the flip side of things, speaking of people who are not plugged in, shall we get to the main portion of this episode and talk about
Let's get this over with.
And get to the Game Awards with Geoff Keighley and the nominations that were announced on a Twitter live stream? earlier this week, that was a really weird thing to wake up to and watch and be disappointed in. Yeah, no spoilers as to how we feel, but you know. I guess how about we rattle off what all of the major award categories are and some nominees. And how about I'll do it and you guys stop me when it's time. Just whenever you feel ready. Buzz in, just like
I
on
don't know when it's
Jeopardy.
time.
All right. One of the big awards, Best Game Direction nominees: Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2.
Stop. Who? Returnal who? I don't know that game. Continue.
A AAA
I'm just
sci-fi
kidding,
roguelike that came out in the beginning of the year that a bunch of people said was too hard and too boring, but the people who were into it were very into it. There's that. Other game direction nominees: Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So there's that. Awards for Best Narrative: Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange True Colors, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I need to stop myself. Spoilers for Deathloop. Spoilers for Deathloop for the next 15 seconds. Please click off or skip ahead 30 seconds-ish if you need to go. Why are we so into incest in video games? Why does this keep being a thing? And why do people keep getting awards for it? All right, I'm done now. I just needed to, we don't need to have a discussion about it because I don't think it warrants it. But what the fuck? And for Best Narrative, I'm done now. But you get the idea of why that is a thing that I had to say. Moving on. Award for Best Art Direction nominees: The Artful Escape, Deathloop, Kenna Bridge of Spirits, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Awards for Best Score and Music: The Artful Escape, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I want to say something about this real quick. I'm sure it has music, but it gives me
I'm sure it has
copyrighted. I'm sure. I'm sure it has music.
I mean, obviously it has music to be nominated. Could you imagine a game
Most
with no
games
music
have
being nominated?
Let me finish. I know it has original music, but I feel like it's kind of. I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know. But I feel like it's one of the games that would have licensed music.
Right, yes.
So I just feel like when games have licensed music, just take that shit out. Take that shit out of this one.
Okay, sorry, my face is so red. That was so funny. I'm sure it has music. Dextralicious 2021. The other nominees: Deathloop, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I cannot believe that GF Keighley pronounced this whole thing, but he did, and I will not be one up, so I will too. Nier Replicant version 0.1.224744871139.
Period.
Great. Best Performance: Erica Mori as Alex Chen in Life is Strange True Colors, Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo in Far Cry 6, Jason Kelly as Colt Vaughn in Deathloop, Maggie Robertson as Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil Village, and Osiomo Akaga as Juliana Blake in Deathloop. I have just a little problem here. Just a little problem. One thing that we see at the Oscars, which are also a complete and total joke, just to be clear, is that there are different sections for actors. So, right, there's Best Male Lead, Best Female Lead, Best Supporting Actor, etc., etc. Performances and voice acting are really important in games, but I feel like it's fair to say that outside of AAA, it's quite uncommon. So for me, para mí, it's really fucked up that the only Black nominees on almost this entire list are in the same category for the same game, not only in terms of that being very low diversity, but also because they are now pitted directly against each other, because if you like Deathloop and think it has great performances and you want it to win, you're going to have to vote for one of them. And while Jason Kelly as Colt Vaughn is the actual lead of Deathloop, when you're the protagonist, you tend to not talk quite as much as other characters, especially in cutscenes. So it's these votes are now being split and I don't like that. That's
Yeah.
suspicious.
Already
That's
because I know
weird.
that the white woman's gonna win.
Oh yeah, like let's not
Is-
mince any words. Lady Dimitrescu is gonna win. Like,
yeah.
if she doesn't, there will be an uproar, but it
And
would be
I'll be
funny.
happy to see that
Yes,
uproar.
it would
I'd
be
fight
so
to see the
funny.
person.
I mean, I've seen the game and I feel like she did okay. Like I don't feel like she really like had a lot to say in there. I don't know. I find
But
that very interesting that I mean she probably had maybe 100 lines and
That's
that's
fair.
she got nominated for that. Like I
like
wasn't moved.
now like I guess kind of spoilers, but like spoilers for like the next 5 seconds. Like she's like only in like a quarter of the game. So like
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
there's not much of her in the actual game. So like I don't know.
I mean, that's ditto what I heard about Giancarlo Esposito in Far Cry 6, a video game I will never play, not only because of the racism, but also because of Ubisoft. But I heard that he was mainly just in it because, like, oh, he's in Breaking Bad, so isn't he so cool? He's in all the marketing, he's on the box art, and I think he's barely in it, like, at all. I think
Mhm.
even less than Lady Dimitrescu. So, you hate to see it. Shall we move on to the next category?
Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure.
No, let's stay on this. I'm just kidding. We can move on.
This one's kind of nebulous. This feels like a very, I don't know, happy, yay, we're good. Video games are good in art award. It's just called Games for Impact. This seems to be the indie game dumping ground outside of the other indie categories. Nominees: Before Your Eyes, Boyfriend Dungeon, Chicory: A Colorful Tale, Life is Strange: True Colors, and No Longer Home. Shout outs to No Longer Home for having the nomination. That was a really good game. And it was very
I
good.
mean, I think I think it was I think I played Before Your Eyes and
You
honestly,
did.
thank you. I mean, for impact, I definitely see why it would be impactful to people. Boyfriend Dungeon, I don't see how that's impactful in any way. Life is Strange, always. I think it's very impactful game. And No Longer Home. What was that about? It's on my desktop. I didn't touch it. I haven't touched it yet.
No Longer
It's
Home
there.
is a short, semi-autobiographical tale about two non-binary university students trying to, like, move on from the fact that they're no longer university students and, like, they don't know what to do with their lives. I'd say it's impactful. It's emotional.
Yes.
I think it's relatable for a lot of people. So
I
yeah.
remember that at at E3. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So I would say that's an impactful game. That's a very interesting category.
It's
I
a
don't know.
strange
Before Your Eyes,
category.
no, I completely agree with you. Before Your Eyes, I mean, I would love to win, just because I really enjoyed it. But yeah,
Yeah,
we can move on.
it's borderline wholesome. Like, I feel like the category should say wholesome, but it made me cry, or like something like that.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd, but yeah, we can move on to best indie. I have thoughts.
I do
Nominees:
too.
12 Minutes, Death's Door, Inscription, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, and Loop Hero. Dex, let's get to your thoughts first.
First off, I'm really nervous that 12 minutes is gonna win because spoilers for 12 minutes for the next like 10-20 seconds. There's
Every time ruined.
there's also incest.
A lot.
The whole plot device is incest.
A lot of brutalizing of your
gross.
wife. A
That
lot of
too.
drugging, and yeah, it's it's very Last of Us 2 core, where it's like for a story to be good, a lot of quotation marks here, good and important and make you feel things, it has to be violent and rude and horrible and as far into those categories as you can get. There's that. I do completely agree with you, Dex. One thing that also bugs me as the indie lover on the panel is that 4 of the 5 nominees for best indie are published by AAA publishers, basically people who are huge in indie. Namely, 3 of these are Devolver Digital published games, and one of them is Annapurna Interactive, which is arguably the most like prestigious art indie publishing arm. Kenna, Bridge of Spirits is the only indie game in this category that was not published and assisted by an actual indie publisher. And if you're going to say that something is an indie game, that it's small scale, that it's independently made, saying that it came from a big publisher, especially a publisher like Devolver Digital, which was recently tossed around at the price of $1 billion fucking dollars. They seem like antithetical concepts to me. Spoilers for the rest of what we get into, but like there's nothing from almost nothing outside of Games for Impact and Best Debut Indie that are self-published. There's nothing from like Haunted PS1 demo disc, those that came on to be full games. There's just not a lot of stuff. The indie category always does disappoint me at the Game Awards, but this is one of the most disappointing that I think it has ever been. And that is sad.
No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically all I have to say on that one. Let's move on. Best mobile game. Fantasian, Genshin Impact, League of Legends Wild Rift, Marvel Future Evolution, and Pokemon Unite. Y'all got any thoughts?
No.
I'm not really into mobile gaming, so I mean, I don't know. Majority of these games, I know Genshin and Pokemon, so I think those two will probably be the head-to-head fight there, but Genshin will probably win.
Oh, really? I think Pokemon will win. I think recency bias will play a part.
I think, knowing how the Pokemon stands team are, I feel like Unite would win over Genshin.
That's fair. Alrighty, no Cookie Run Kingdom trash category. Let's move on. Innovation and accessibility. Far Cry 6, Forza Horizon 5, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and The Veil, Shadow of the Crown. The Veil, let me double check so I don't talk out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure about this one. I just want to double check. The interesting thing about The Veil is that it is a completely sightless game. You can play it literally, like, I'm not using the word blind the way that people use it in games, meaning they don't know. I mean literally blind. You can be blind and play The Veil, and that's really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like sightless games, I think they're somewhat of a niche category, but it's cool to see them get some level of recognition on a big stage. That's nice. Very happy for that team. Have y'all experimented or like have you played any of these games and experimented with the accessibility modes in them at all?
No,
Absolutely
I typically
not.
do not. No.
That's fair. I mean, most of them I haven't played, so I can't entirely speak, but I think Forza's accessibility modes are extremely cool. Like one thing you notice right away is you open the game and immediately it starts reading out the menu. So if you're someone who started up the game and, didn't have vision of it, it could navigate you correctly to the menu to turn that on, and that's really cool. Another feature that it has that's really neat is obviously it's a racing game, but you can, in offline mode, turn down the speed of the entire game up to like 60%. So like your car and all the other cars will be going 100 miles an hour or whatever, but to you visually, the entire physics engine is working at 40 miles an hour. So that way you have more of a reaction time. It's easier for you to move your fingers between buttons if you're trying to like drift or something. And I thought that was really impressive.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
off. just shake your head. I love to see it. You love to see it.
Yeah, I would pop off, girlies. Dang.
All right, let's get into best action game. Back 4 Blood, Chivalry 2, Chivalry. God, I'm so Spanish. I'm sorry. Chivalry 2, Deathloop, Far Cry 6, and Returnal again, who we don't know super well, but there we go.
Don't know her.
Any thoughts on that one?
No.
All right.
No.
An annoying thing to me, best action game category is immediately followed up by best action/action adventure. This is what it's like to like video games in 2021, is that action and action/action adventure are two different categories because all the AAA games are the same and they needed some way to split them up. Anyways, best action adventure, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Probably pretty fair, I would say.
Pop off, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, best role-playing, Cyberpunk 2077, Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Tales of Arise. How y'all feeling?
I don't know any of these games, but I am hoping that Shin Megami Tensei eats up the competition. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's fair. Didn't
I honestly, my biggest thing looking through the entire list to see Cyberpunk 2077
at all.
on at literally at all for any of the nominees, it's completely shocking to me, and it to me, these they have to buy bids. They have to be buying these spots, because there's no way that you're going to tell me that that game that was $30 a month after it got released, or $20, whatever, that's a best role-playing game. Absolutely not. Like that's or even the music. Could you even hear the music over all of the annoying crap that was going on around you?
Yeah.
Like, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense to me. It's honestly it's like infuriating to me to
Yeah,
see it on there.
it really is. How about we? I'd like to put a pin in that conversation of how and why are these games nominated. I'd like to get to it at the end. We have a few
Okay.
more categories.
Right,
to
because
go.
I just have only closing thoughts about like the rest
Right.
of this.
Yeah, that I feel like it's a good like closing statement. That's how I think about it anyways. But yeah,
Right.
the one thing I want to ask too is, didn't Shin Megami Tensei come out at the time of recording this like 2 weeks ago or something?
It was within a week.
Oh,
It was like
within
a week.
So
Yeah, let me look up the date, but I'm pretty sure it was literally like less than a week ago.
that's gonna attach to our pin also, because from what I understand of Shin Megami Tensei 5 and all of the Shin Megami Tensei Persona games, is that they are extremely long, and the Shin Megami Tensei games in particular are quite difficult. So, a week to get nominated a game that can easily run you over 100 hours. We'll get into it at the end there, but just wanted to make a note of that.
November 11th, 9 days ago,
That's
as of
wild.
filming.
Anyways, we don't have Koga here, but very briefly, best fighting game: Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, The Hinokami Chronicles, Guilty Gear Strive, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. If Guilty Gear Strive doesn't win, throw the whole thing away. I
don't play fighting games, so
Right.
well, the thing is,
I'll take your word for it. Listen, I was like, come on, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Like,
I love Nick All-Star Brawl, but it's not particularly good. It's the kind of thing I would have eaten up on the original Xbox when I was 10 years old, and I'm still gonna play a lot of it. But as far as games that are well designed and cool and great for the fighting game community, it's Guilty Gear Strive, and it's not close, even a little bit. That's just the gist of it. But yeah,
I take your words.
Yeah. A best family game, aka the Nintendo category. It Takes Two, Mario Party Superstars, New Pokemon
Ridiculous.
Snap, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and WarioWare Get Together. 4 out of the 5 categories or nominees are Nintendo competing with itself, which
True.
somewhat understandable in the terms that Nintendo is the premier family game, publisher and developer. But no indie games? No Alba, A Wildlife Adventure, one of the most popular indie games that came out this year. The Short Hike re-release on Nintendo Switch, even? It doesn't compute for me personally. Anyways, let's move on. Best multiplayer: Back 4 Blood, Knockout City, It Takes Two, not a multiplayer game, a co-op game, which is different, but Monster Hunter Rise, New World, and Valheim. Dex?
First off, New World barely worked, so how are they on there?
Right, like I was like, why?
I'm pretty sure our friend Smallsy, friend of the pod, can't even play it on his computer still. So how's that on there?
I mean,
it was breaking his internet, mama. Like, what games do that? Like, bricking whole ass internet.
I was gonna say, wasn't it bricking people's entire computers in some cases too?
The computers, the internet. I've never heard of a game like destroying somebody's internet, like literally taking it down. Like,
I don't understand how it's on there.
A strange category, to be sure. And again, co-op and multiplayer are two different things. Co-op means two people that are going through a campaign together,
But It's still multiplayer.
Oh my god,
Mhm.
the Latin police are gonna be here and be like, actually, multi means more than one, so it includes 2 players.
It is more than one.
It is more than one. No, yeah, I don't know. Kind of a strange category, I think, especially because there are so many available games. But
Agreed.
good category. Maybe the only category. Best debut indie: The Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, which we were talking about Skyrim mods earlier. The Forgotten City was originally arguably the most famous Skyrim story mod. It was an entire, basically, game built inside of Skyrim using Skyrim assets, and they have finally managed to just publish an entire game by themselves based on the mod that they made all by their lonesome. So I love that
That's
for them.
awesome.
Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, Sable, which was scalped for most other categories, including Best Art Design. It is an insult. Sable is arguably the most gorgeous game I have ever played in my entire life. Period. Full stop. I don't care if it's glitchy. The fact that they got a Mobius painting to move in real time while you are playing a video game with a day and night system while you're riding around on a little bike. Nowhere mentioned for Best Art Direction. Also, an actual indie game made by a small handful of people. Upsetting to say the least. And Valheim, which I know a lot of people are having fun in. So congrats to Valheim for a couple of nominations. Any other thoughts on the best debut indie from y'all?
Mm-mm.
Alrighty. Last 2 here, and the 2 big ones generally at the Game Awards. Well, big ones in terms of hype, maybe not in actual anything. Most anticipated game: Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West. The next one really makes me laugh. The sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
The sequel.
Which does not have a
No
name.
names.
No name.
The
No,
sequel
And
to The Legend of
Starfield.
Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
These are games that I hear about a lot, that a lot of people are excited for and looking forward to. So I would say these are probably some of the best out there, as far as if we're only considering Chick-fil-A games, like we're not considering anything else. I would say, no, that's it.
Yeah. And then, both Spin and Ruby, our lovely co-host in chat, point out it was in the same category last year, I think with the same name. I think it may be announced Breath of the Wild sequel is the way that they phrase it to make it look slightly less awkward. But yeah, weird. It'll probably be Elden Ring. I mean, what else would it be, right? Like, I mean, people are very excited for all of these. Maybe except for Starfield, Bethesda has lost a lot of goodwill for good reason. So it's probably gonna be Elden Ring. That's one of the most hype releases in like the last 10 years, probably. So.
Well, before we go into Game of the Year, I would love Spin, but it forgot Best Ongoing, which had nominated Final Fantasy XIV Online. So I have to bring this up. Spin. Okay. But best ongoing nominees are Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Final Fantasy XIV Online, Genshin Impact, and Fortnite. And I'm just hoping for 14.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Like, honestly, I wanted to be like, wait, best multiplayer? We don't see Final Fantasy XIV Heaven's Ward expansion that you can play up to level 60. The highly award, like the whole long speech, the highly awarded integrated
expansion, Heaven's Word. Because like we got to multiplayer and I was like, I know Final Fantasy XIV got nominated, and then I saw that Spin didn't put Ongoing, which had 14 nominated.
Spin
so
alone, it's resting. Spin made it in a fervor at 4 a.m.
I know.
That's true.
But 14 is my life, so I must avenge her.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I mean, as someone who's not an MMO girly, not even a Final Fantasy girly, it's really hard to imagine anyone holding a candle to 14, especially in this particular category, and especially with Endwalker. Okay, about to release. I'm like, they go to the moon and they blow up the moon or something. What's it called?
Final Fantasy is obsessed with the moon for some reason.
I like her too.
I don't know why. Obsessed with the moon.
I love that. I love the moon.
Alrighty, so That's us. I think the entirety of Just Gaming Tingz united for Final Fantasy XIV Online. Even I could agree with that one. So hey, why not? And then the big award Game of the Year nominees: Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Thoughts, feelings, concerns?
Only my final thoughts.
I'm honestly surprised It Takes Two got in there. I mean, it's a great game, but I'm surprised it got in there. Metroid Dread, I'm surprised it got in there.
I'm very happy Metroid Dread got in. Genuinely.
I haven't played it yet. I have it, but I haven't played it yet. Is it good?
Me neither. I ain't got a Switch, but I seen people play it.
I'm just happy it's there.
No, but genuinely, actually, because here's the thing: I, as a person, don't like Metroidvanias. I don't have a Switch. I am very upset about everything with Mercury Steam, and I wish that more people would be reporting on that at all the Nintendo channels, shamelessly building off of Metroid Dread hype. But I think Nintendo pouring more resources into actual single player campaign games would be really nice. I think giving more attention to their underserved but still extraordinarily popular franchises would be very nice. Like, obviously, this is a big company that only cares about the profits after a certain level, right? And then what we'll get into in a second is that the Game Awards are a complete and total fucking joke, except for people who care about AAA and AAA companies. So I think Metroid getting a nod at all, like the only other Nintendo games I can think of that have gotten a nod for Game of the Year are Breath of the Wild, and then I think Odyssey got one, but I don't remember if it was GOTY or if it was Best Family Game. But it's just nice to see it there, especially because compared to some other nominees on the list, I feel like it had a lot more work poured into it, even if some of those workers, weren't credited in the final product. But, I'd also like to say I think it really sucks. The cutoff dates make sense for the Game Awards in general. At a certain point, you have to say can't have any before or after here. But everyone I know really, really loved Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They loved the accessibility options. They loved the story. They loved how it looked, how it played. It's gonna get completely fucked because of recency bias. I don't think it really matters how much people liked it in the beginning of the year because they haven't probably touched it in like at least 6 months. So that's unfortunate, but that also is a game that had a lot of heart behind it, and as far as I'm aware, was very adamant about not crunching or abusing its employees. So that's nice. And those are my thoughts on GOTY.
When I think of like video game awards, I'm just gonna kind of go for the neck here.
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking to people about video games and stuff, I'm not sitting here and like, oh, you haven't played so and so, it won this award because of blah blah
Right,
blah.
yeah.
Like, I don't talk about that. Like, I really feel like AAA games at this point, like this is kind of just a waste of our time, to be perfectly honest, for like AAA games, because people are going to buy them no matter what. People are going to play them no matter what. And I think what it comes down to mostly is the opinion of the consumer. Like, I don't think that they need this validation for it. I honestly think that we should be turning our eyes more to indies. And like you said, it's upsetting with the indie category and stuff, how it's flooded with not even like true indie like games. I mean, they're indie games, but like
they're
not true
independent,
indie
but they're
studio
not
games.
indie. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I feel like, it's going to be fun to, sit here and watch it. And, honestly, like, it's just going to be fun to react to Cyberpunk winning something, because for some odd reason, Cyberpunk's going to win something because apparently it was a good game. So
Allegedly.
it's just like, yeah. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's so wasteful.
Yeah, I mean,
for me.
it's really, again, below like a AAA level, the awards really don't matter. It is essentially just a little E3 with a bunch of shit in between all the stuff. I don't know if it would maybe be too aggressive and perhaps vulgar to call it a AAA circle jerk, but that's what I would call it. Like it is
I
it
agree.
is very similar to the Oscars in the sense that it is giving people awards who you like and who are in your industry and who have an essence of prestige about them. I think one thing I saw in the chat, not to break the fourth wall, but when we were talking about games for impact, and we saw Boyfriend Dungeon on there, a lot of people were surprised. I think a lot of people have also covertly been surprised by the extreme presence of the PlayStation game The Artful Escape on here. I feel like it sounds very artful. It sounds like a game for impact, etc., etc. And I think a lot of people are trying not to sound surprised because they don't know what it is. Most people haven't played it. It was one of those big, like, at the Sony shows, they're proving that they love indies and that they love art, and they're going to release The Artful Escape. It got delayed quite a few times, and then released to, as far as I'm aware, basically zero fanfare from critics or consumers. And it just brings to question, regardless of the quality or the enjoyment, I don't care, of Boyfriend Dungeon or The Artful Escape or Cyberpunk 2077 or several other games, they were always going to be here. It did not matter how people felt when they played them, whether they are critics or casual players, they were always going to be here. Like Guardians of the Galaxy was always going to be in several places on this list. So was Deathloop. Like so were so many of the games. 12 minutes, no matter what, even if the weird like people who really love the like torture porn really hated it, it would still be here. Like that's just it, right? And I mean, to be clear, this is what we were talking about earlier, talking about like the, I guess, integrity of the event as a whole and why are certain games getting nominated, how are certain games getting nominated. I don't think it's like them paying anybody off or anything. It's just that these particular ones happen to have been chosen as being prestigious by like the AAA community. And the very few indies that did get chosen, I'm happy they were chosen, but there's so many that aren't here that could be taking places from other people or games. I guess they're not people, but you know, I don't know. Did y'all have any other thoughts on that? I know you had your closing thoughts that you were waiting on, Dex.
For the most part, it's really just that like this past year was probably like the year where I was like most unfamiliar with video games. Like most of these games on this list, like I did not see. Like the only game that I've like seen a bit of was like I saw a bit of Psychonauts 2 from Lotus. So I only got that snippet of Psychonauts.
Maybe
And
not the
then
best snippet for putting it in an award
it's
show.
not the
But,
best snippet, but like just watching
Right.
it as well, I just was like, oh, this is like rough.
Mhm.
And then like that, It Takes Two and Resident Evil Village were the only games nominated on this list that I've seen this year. And then I've like seen like a little bit of Forza Horizon, but like other than that, like I don't really know most of these games. So like looking through this list, I'm just really just like I don't know who would win. Like I mean I know who might win, but it's not like I really have like an opinion of like who should win.
Right.
But like I'm more so like thankful that like I don't think there's gonna be a game that sweeps like
That's a good
Last
point.
of Us Part 2 did last year. Because they won like what, 5, 6, 7 awards last year. And I don't even think like most of the ones that probably would win are nominated for that many. Like I think like unfortunately I think Resident Evil might win. But like that's only nominated for like a few things. And then
Right.
like Cyberpunk's only nominated for like a couple things too. So like not like I hate that like that's something I have to say, but it's like I'm glad that all the bad games like Cyberpunk are not as like possibly sweeping as like Last of Us Part 2 did last year, and it's not even on Best Game of the Year, which I am so thankful for. But I don't know who should win like most of these awards.
Yeah.
So I'm just so unfamiliar with all of it.
We take
I
our
would have
crumbs. We take our crumbs where we can get them, you know.
Right.
I would say like how you first said Dex, how you're like I've been so out of it like of video games this year. I have to feel the same way. Like looking through the list, I was just like, what? Like really? What? And I feel honestly, I mean, with my gaming habits, I never really play like these big games. So if I only hear, this and that about it, that's all I hear about it. And then when I see them on there, like honestly, I'm just annoyed that Guardians of the Galaxy has a decent amount of nominations, because I was so annoyed by Square Enix spending 20 minutes during their E3 presentation wasting
Literally,
our
The
damn
callback.
time.
that's literally all I
Like,
can think of too.
yeah, they wasted my damn time with all of that. They wasted our damn time. They wasted all of our damn time with all of that gameplay. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't seen anything about it. Like, I don't see anyone talk. Like, I think that's the big thing, is I don't see anyone talking about these games. People are not like with Control. When Control came out, every single person talked about Control and how
Animal
amazing
Crossing
Control was. The Animal Crossing. Everyone
commandeered the
talked about Animal
internet.
Crossing. What did you say?
I said Animal Crossing commandeered the internet for like a
Right.
month, you know?
Right. So like maybe it's like the way that we're getting reintroduced back into like the world where we're not being, I don't want to say it, but like post COVID, like we're just kind of like getting back into the swing of things. And honestly, I feel like a lot of these categories are just a swing and the miss for me.
Mhm.
It's I just they're not really hitting me like even how last year was. And it's just not, nothing's landing for me. I'll say that. Nothing's landing for me.
I think
And
that's fair.
it will be interesting to watch and see who wins. But I am happy that we're not going to be seeing like a sweep of a certain game winning all of these categories.
Yeah,
For sure.
and especially because of how far into the COVID pandemic we are, it feels like the AAA wheel is not turning as fast as it intends to. You know, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were still getting a fair amount of AAA releases because it felt like most of them were close to being done, and then they got slowed down by COVID, but they just needed like the last 10%, right? So they could make it and they could release it, and that's what everyone was talking about. But now that it's almost 2 years of COVID and people having a really hard time developing anything, I think it's certainly not just me or even just like hardcore indie game lovers who are now kind of only playing indie games or primarily playing indie games because all of the releases have been so slow. I mean, we don't have one of our resident Animal Crossing lovers with us, but they could tell you for like 6 or more months, it felt like nothing was really coming out for Animal Crossing because they couldn't work on it. And as great of a game as it is, it's a game that needs continuous support, and that's how a lot of AAA games are. I wouldn't be surprised if like we would even in a non-COVID world, we would be getting news about like another Resident Evil remake right now, or even some other Pokemon stuff, like another Pokemon game on top of Legends Arceus, I think is what it's called, and Brilliant no, wait. Don't worry about it. The remakes. But so that's why I think it feels extra weird. I typically feel like somewhat disconnected from the list, but even if fan fervor online is not the best, quality marker for games, it at least will give you an idea of how people feel and if a game is popular and if a lot of people played it. And with a lot of games on the list, like you said, Ruin, even someone as knee deep in games as I am, some of them I've barely heard anything about outside of the indies. I'm like, I know a handful of people who played these, and that's pretty much it. Like, even with mobile games, a lot of people getting into mobile gaming, I haven't heard of like 3 of the games on the list. It's kind of strange, even stranger and more disappointing than the Game Awards usually are. Y'all got any other thoughts before we do a little wrap up?
Nope.
No.
Not you laughing. All right, last question. Our fearless leader Ruby in chat did ask, do y'all have any games you'd prefer to see to get nominated? I guess this can be category wide, like any category you want, game of the year, whatever. We could start with you, Dex, I suppose.
I literally don't know video games, but what even came out this year?
It's really hard to remember and to not get it blurred with like the last year as well.
I've seen ever since Ruby asked that question, I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, but I've been like trying to look around, like what games came out last year? Like, I don't know.
Right. I really don't think I have any. The games that are nominated are the games that exist in my head. So.
The games that exist in your head? Wait, hang on. What does that mean?
It means like they're the games I know that came out this year because they're there.
Hang on. I mean, my
I was.
Oh, go.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, okay, so I only have one for now, and then I need to look at the list of games I played this year because I do keep that on hand. The one I said earlier, Best Art Direction, Sable. Disgusting that it wasn't nominated for that. Truly horrendous. So that one. I'll try to think of more, but back to you, Ruin.
I mean, with the few that I saw on there that I actually played, because I feel like my gaming habits, I always play older games anyway. But Before Your Eyes, I was happy that it got nominated because I mean, I did get to play that on stream, and I was happy with the game. Like, I would love to go back to it, especially after the 2 months that I've had with my personal life, but because I think it would be a bit more impactful to me now. But I was happy to see that. It just, yeah, I honestly can't think of anything. Minecraft Game of the Year 2021.
Yeah, baby, let's go. Minecraft Game of the Year every year, just like Fortnite. I mean, one I had to look up my list, but one that I don't know if this is spoilers because I might do a thing on this later. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Editing and writing is hard. But Devotion got its full regular release this year, and I think a lot of people forgot about that. Devotion by Red Candle Games, the game that was infamously pulled from the Steam store for having a meme criticizing the Chinese president with the Winnie the Pooh stuff. It was pulled from Steam. Nobody could play it. You could only emulate it. It got re-released on Red Candle Games, like official eShop this year. I'm willing to count that. It might be slightly cheating. I don't care. I would absolutely count it. I think The Forgotten City getting nominations, I should say, is really good. I love that. I think Bonfire Peaks, which is a great puzzle game, missed the date, which sucks. Moondown not getting nominated for anything is disappointing to me. That is a completely hand-drawn in pencil and charcoal folk horror game that was cool as hell. So I would have liked to see that somewhere. Other than that, I don't know. Oh, best multiplayer Splitgate. I'll kill you for not having Splitgate on there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually a surprise. Now that you mention it, that's a surprise that it's not on there because a lot of people said a lot of good things about it.
It's great. Look, we've established previously that I am the toxic gamer of Just Gaming Tingz. I love a first-person shooter where you could just go apeshit like Splitgate. It has just a lot of nice features. It's you can tell that the devs loved like playing Halo 2 and like Quake 3 and stuff, and they just wanted to make a really fun, high-octane game that you can drop in and out of. Like, losing in that game doesn't even feel bad because the matches are so short and you can just pull off ridiculous stunts. So yeah, those are my ones. Sable for art direction, Moondown for basically anything, Splitgate for best multiplayer. Yeah. Oh, Iconfell for accessibility as well.
Oh, okay. What they do?
I'm just putting them out there. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know them, look them up. You might like them. They're all like $20 because they're indie games. Actually, Splitgate is free. Download Splitgate. Add me on Steam at Lotus Loves Lotus. Let's start a lobby.
Love that. Let's start a lobby.
Let's start a lobby.
Toxic gamers only.
Toxic gamers only. Only teabag confirmed. And shoddy snipers. And that's all we're gonna play together.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds great. Alrighty. I guess we kind of technically what we just said was basically this. Both of y'all said you haven't been playing many games lately. Have y'all been playing any games you'd like to talk about? Starting with you, Ruin.
I have I was like super into Final Fantasy 14 for like several weeks. I was playing it every day for several hours a day. I was happy that I traveled out of the country and got away from it because I was getting a little too obsessive with it. But I made some good leeway in that game, but I think I'm just gonna wait until Endwalker comes out now. Because it was a bit mind numbing. And then I recently got into Minecraft with some friends. We started a realm, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, I just made like a floating garden this morning. Like, I've really been feeling my Minecraft fantasy. So that's it. And then I started Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Radiant Pearl, whatever the fuck it's called. I started that. You muted. We can't hear you.
Shining Pearl.
Shining Pearl, yeah. Okay. That's what I've been playing. It's really it.
Fair. I finished Sable. Basically 100%ed it. I think there's a couple other things I have to do, but and yeah,
Okay.
I love it. I fell in love the moment I started playing it, and it kept that the whole time. It was fabulous. The only other new thing I have played since last week is the Halo Infinite multiplayer drop. I don't like it.
Oh.
Which is part of why I will praise Splitgate so much. It feels like Halo Infinite already had multiple closed and open betas to test everything and make sure it was working. This feels like another beta. They're just not saying that that's what it is. It has this is a weird thing to harp on, but they're so bad I have to. It has some of the worst menus I have ever seen in a game. I just don't understand how it's like gotten to this point. Like, how do you get this far? How are you also publishing things like Forza Horizon 5 accessibility and Psychonauts 2 accessibility, and it is this bad? It is just truly baffling. Bless you. The gameplay itself is fine.
Thank you.
No problem. It's like there's a good Halo physics and shooting and running around engine buried beneath all of it, but it even has stuff that Splitgate doesn't have things that Splitgate has, like the fact that you can't queue up for a particular game mode that you want to play, because theoretically they are keeping it out as like a full beta and just saying, well, it's fully released, anybody can play it. We're just gonna collect data and make you play game modes that you don't actually want to play, which I don't understand. It's a weird choice.
Didn't Destiny do that too with their multiplayer, making you play modes that you didn't want to play when you played multiplayer?
I mean, that seems right. Destiny's made a lot of weird choices in its time, so
True.
that would make sense. I can't say for sure, but that's funny. That's while I was playing Infinite, that's what like most of the chat was saying. Was like, this just makes me want to play Destiny 2, but they fuck stuff up too, so I'm sad about it.
Dex, what are you playing?
Yeah, Dex, what are you playing? Sorry, let me not go on about Infinite this whole time.
Well, all I played is I barely played anything. All I ended up doing was playing like a little bit of Animal Crossing, and then after Animal Crossing, I played some. I'm trying to like platinum trophy Saints Row 4 now, so like that's all I've been doing this week.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great.
Work.
Just
I
hang it
did.
out.
Thinking about, I did start playing Luigi's Mansion 3 because I got the Switch OLED. And I was playing Luigi's Mansion 3 on it, handheld, because that's really the only way to experience the OLED. But I will say the OLED is very gorgeous in my opinion. It's this game Pokemon
You
looks
just
really
had it
pretty
on
on
hand.
it. So.
Hi.
Right here, because I took the picture because I don't know if any of you saw my tweet last night, but like the cases for the games, like they're different. So this is the above ground and this is the underground.
Oh.
I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, is
Above
the
ground, underground of what?
of Sinnoh?
Of the Sinnoh. The Sinnoh reason. Because you can go
God, don't you know anything,
underground.
Dex? We said it so aggressively.
Do you even play Pokemon?
Don't you know about the Sinnoh region? Don't you care about Gen 4? Wait, I do have a question because I haven't seen this in the game. Do they still have that weird thing where you have to like mine and you like mine up fossils? This weird underground mini game.
Yeah, you can still go to the underground and like have a secret base and all of that stuff. I haven't gotten to that point. I literally chose Chimchar and went to the next town
Yes.
and I was like, I'm saving. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I think it's even if you still have a copy of the original Diamond and Pearl, it's like unplayable, that mini game. So that's cool. Alrighty. That's just what
because
I
it
wanted to know.
required online function.
Uh-huh.
Platinum. Well, it didn't get re-released, did it? No.
Because I get to enjoy it myself, and I get to experience both games at once, bitch. So.
And you do get Dawn's best costume. That was really the blueprint. Once
I don't have to pay $120 to experience both games at the same time. So
I actually, oh my gosh, what's so funny about these games, because I was telling Lotus and Dex before the pod started that like there have been some people who have gotten it early, gotten the games early, like literally like a week and a half earlier. Like my friend got it a day before release, but there was something I came across on my other Twitter where people were like, "Oh, imagine paying $100 for both Pokemon games," and people were kind of like explaining, yeah, like there's really no point. There's just, when you put it in, like it flags which version it is. They're basically like you can play the same game, like the same version on both game, or the two versions on this one card. But then people were like, oh, like why are we gonna why are we gonna jailbreak our Switch? Like, I don't know. People are very interesting in the Pokemon community, and they really think that they get people and that they're reading people for doing illegal things. It's just like, y'all are doing nothing. You're just making fools of yourselves. That's it.
Cop behavior. Genuinely.
Yep.
Why are Pokemon fans such cops sometimes? It's really weird.
Period.
Officer Jenny looking ass. Anyways, maybe we should sign off now. Before stop laughing. I'm trying to do the outro. The host. It has been an action-packed day, news-packed day, hatred-packed day, and now it is time for us to sign off, starting with you, Dex. Who are you? What do you do? Where could people find you? Any projects you'd like to let us know about?
I am Dextralicious, and I'm here existing at Dex is a mess on Twitter. And slots opened for emotes, so I'm just sitting here like, maybe I'll stream some emote slot art things. Work.
Cool.
Yeah. At Dextralicious at Twitch. And my YouTube is there at Dextralicious. she's kind of been untouched, but she's there.
All right.
We love
what
it.
What about you, Lotus?
Work. I am Lotus. You can find me at Lotus Loves Lotus on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon. I am presently working on a big thing about like fashion in games and like appropriation and racism as it relates to fashion and video games specifically. It's gonna take a long time, but I just want to let y'all know I am working on it. It's
Love
going.
It.
Yeah, you do have a lot of material there.
Oh baby, I could write a novel about Final Fantasy alone, genuinely. So yeah, and I would like it to be kind of, you know, more beginner friendly, because I think fashion is very inaccessible for a lot of people, especially gamers. So we're gonna try to ease people into the concept. That wasn't a read. I mean it genuinely. Fashion is expensive and games are expensive. You can usually only pick one. Like genuinely. Ruin doesn't believe me. If you're audio only, just know that Ruin does not believe me. I saw it in their face. Anyways, Ruin, where can people find you?
Y'all can find me at Rune Crown on basically everything. Twitter, what else am I on? TikTok, Instagram. I'm on Twitch, but I'm not really on Twitch right now. I've been on a mental personal break from it all. And I do have a YouTube, but there's just a video on there, I guess, if you want to check it out. It's not that funny, but it is kind of funny to me.
It's not that funny, but it is kind of
funny. I guess I will be making my I will be making a quick comeback to Twitch this Wednesday for Blackout Wednesday, which is a drinking holiday in America where people get absolutely wasted before Thanksgiving the next day. And hopefully it's not a hot mess like it was last year, because there was at one point where I didn't like the game that we were playing. We were playing a Jackbox game because I didn't understand it, and I just was sitting there on my phone as the game passed me by. Like everyone was playing it. I was just like, I don't understand this, you guys. I have to find the clip. I have to find it. But
can we get Cookie Mama drunk though? Can we get Cookie Mama drunk though?
Yeah.
Cookie Mama drunk?
Cookie Mama, yeah. I want to see you do. I want you to see it. I want to see you do it drunk.
That's actually like, that's fierce. I would do that. Yeah. Like mom after school or mom after work cooking. You know, I got my not even good wine, it's just cooking wine. It's
not the cooking wine.
All you want to do is get zooted. You don't care how it tastes.
Exactly. So yes, that's what I'm doing. So thanks. It's been a pleasure being back, though.
Yay,
it was so nice
it has
to
been so good
do
to
this with both of you today.
Hell yes, absolutely. Alrighty, I think that is everything we have to do. Thank you to everybody live for joining us on twitch.tv/Just Gaming Tingz. That's Tingz with a Z. This will also be available on YouTube soon, TM, usually in the next week or so, and I believe also on Spotify and other podcasting platforms. So, yeah, I think we're good. Thank you all very, very much for joining us. I think this was kind of an extra long one, but we had a lot to talk about, so what can we say? And yeah, hope to see y'all next time. Oh, it's hard to talk now. Alrighty. Bye, everybody.
Bye.